Hello, Tyler Bryden here. Maybe a virtual AI avatar of myself. Who really knows? Doesn't matter. Let's jump into it. Anthropic, big fan of this company, creators of Claude 2, foundational large language model company. Recently, big announcement about up to $4 billion investment from Amazon, now seeking $2 billion investment from Google. There's some super interesting parts of this for many reasons. One of them, these companies, these big companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, wanting to participate in this space, almost a little bit of a proxy battle going on between these companies. And we've got so many things flashing on the screen here. We've got Google, who had previously invested in Anthropic, apparently buying up to 10% of that company. People thinking, say, hey, this is Google's hold on Anthropic, choosing Google Cloud as their dedicated providers, and then Amazon comes out and makes this investment, and then Amazon, and then now back to Google. So there's some fighting over really what's probably the most dominant direct competitor to OpenAI, and whether you like that term or not, it doesn't really matter. I don't care. You've got ChatGPT, I think $20 per month. You're paying for the Pro access. Claude 2 comes out. There's now Claude Pro where you're paying $20 per month. Both have API access. OpenAI more rolled out in terms of public availability. But for reference, like our company here has connected with the Anthropic team using their APIs. Bit of a process. You need to get permission to use the API, and then you've got a limited access permission, and then you need to go through to get full commercial approval to then use that API. So again, OpenAI a little bit more rolled out than Anthropic, but Anthropic coming with a really powerful 100,000 token model, which really means you can add longer text and overcome a lot of the character limitations that are at least currently present in ChatGPT in some of OpenAI's model, with OpenAI sunsetting, at least temporarily, a 16,000 token model to only leave that for enterprises. If you think 16,000 tokens, Anthropic's 100,000 tokens, that's entire novels. That's huge amounts of data that you can pour in, and then also get some really powerful, longer responses out. I just took this article, dumped it into Anthropic. I use Claude quite consistently in different tests and for different reasons where I've identified its strengths. Also very good because of that context window at honoring very specific structures of data that you want it in, because it can handle that data instead of, for example, having to rely on embeddings or over summarization that GPT does to digest entire longer articles and try to fit it into that format. So there's some really big strengths to Anthropic. I think everyone likes to see some competitiveness in the space. Anthropic saying it's running the majority of its workloads on AWS, the majority. So that means there is still a little bit, maybe a fight of where the rest of that is. And Google wants that. These companies want that infrastructure. They want to handle that infrastructure. They want the data that comes with that infrastructure. And yes, the sharing component of that is not fully clear. And there's a lot of talk about security and all of this right now. But generally, I think there's a lot more that we don't necessarily understand that is going on behind the scenes with systems and technology companies like this. Apparently, a valuation of $20 to $30 billion, which means they're rising and growing at a significant rate and pace. One of the reasons why it needed to release Claude and pay for it was the huge compute costs. And I've seen numbers that they're almost at 200 million ARR. We've heard rumors that OpenAI is at $1 billion run rate, which is absolutely insane. But both significant compute power and costs that are happening, but also just revenue growth that we have not seen at a scale that is unbelievable between these companies. Interesting components here about a new model being 10 times more powerful. And some things I don't even know what that means. 10 septillion floating point operations per second. I don't know what that means, which is the average performance of today's biggest supercomputer. So it just shows the capacity and the compute necessity for a model or models like this. I think this also shows a little bit of One of the questions, for example, why did OpenAI fundamentally shift from a nonprofit to a for-profit? Maybe they just did not have the potential to become the entity that they wanted within that nonprofit structure. And there's a lot of trade-offs, but if you're tackling a mission this large and need compute this significant, possibly the only way that you could raise that amount of money is through a for-profit entity so that you can connect with massive companies like Microsoft and Google and Amazon to make this happen. And you can see AWS is super happy about this. Anthropic selects AWS as its primary cloud provider, and it will train and deploy its future foundation models on AWS Trainium and Inferentia chips, taking advantage of AWS's high-performance, low-cost machine learning accelerators. It seems like Amazon is wooing Anthropic as much as Anthropic is interested in wooing these bigger companies for their needs and really become a darling child in the space right now. Two major, I think, themes or fascinating things that come out of this. One, this idea that these companies are just investing in these companies who then are recycling that money back into them. So you invest in Anthropic, it grows, and then Anthropic uses your cloud compute. They're paying you to use that cloud compute depending on the structure of these deals. There's a lot of unknowns in there. And so it's just a recycling of money from these big companies down to startups back in. There's been similar following of this with NVIDIA investing in startups who then are using their chips. Something fascinating about that concept. And the one other one that is interesting is that FTX had invested apparently $500 million in Anthropic, and obviously lots of concerns about FTX and all that, but this nervousness about them losing this money and not being able to get back to people might come through this investment. Apparently, if that big of a investment that early in the company and now Anthropic's growth, it could yield significant returns. And that could be through a liquidation event or however they want to go through this, make this right with the creditors who had lost money. So out of all the crazy stuff that the FTX team had done, they made an investment in an early stage company that has become a very legitimate company in a quick time, growing significantly and may save them in some way. So I've got a couple articles here that I'll share. As always, a little reference to the paid plans if you're interested in that and Anthropic, and do recommend Claude.ai. Go check it out, sign up. Apparently it says it's only in the US and UK, but I'm using it from Canada here. Maybe it's because they've given us permission and access, but generally before they had given us that permission and access, it was blocked in Canada. I've got the Anthropic site up here. Claude 2 released July, which seems both so long ago and such short time ago realistically. Just another signal of a wild time and the ride that we're on here in AI. And we've got Andy Jassy here of AWS and Dario, the co-founder of Anthropic. I don't even know who looks happier, but either way, a lot of money flowing between these two. And I think Anthropic has done an amazing job building out what they've done, technology, company-wise, reputation. And I think we're going to continue to see them be a big player in the space with the amount of resources, the support they have, a very big momentum in this space as it continues to grow. So hopefully you got some insights from this video on Anthropic. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.